Welcome back to Football Daily, where today we bring you our 11 of the greatest players in Serie A history. But what do you think of our choices? Let us know in the comments below. Goalkeeper, Gianluigi Buffon. We start with everyone's favourite madman between the sticks. It's hard to remember a time before Gianluigi Buffon was throwing himself around the penalty area, and Serie A is certainly a better place for having him in it. Buffon has been consistently brilliant since his debut for Parma in 1995. At just 17 years of age, he kept a clean sheet against a Milan side featuring Ballon d'Or winners Roberto Baggio and George Weah. Since then, Gigi has acquired legendary status for Juventus in Italy. He is the most capped player in European football history, with 169 appearances for the Azzurri, plus 619 appearances in Serie A, behind only Paolo Maldini. Undoubtedly one of the greatest stoppers in history, Buffon has 8 Serie A titles to his name, as well as 3 Coppa Italias and, of course, a World Cup. Defender, Cafu. If you're not convinced Cafu should be in this team, then consider this. Not only was he present the last time AC Milan won the Champions League, but he was also in the last Roma side to win a Scudetto, back in 2001. After moving to Italy in 1997, the Brazilian right-back spent 11 happy years in Serie A, locking down the right side for the Giallorossi and the Rossoneri, and gaining a reputation as one of the all-time great fullbacks. As solid as could be at the back, Cafu was also a menace in attack. While at Roma, he even fulfilled a role up on the right wing, linking up wonderfully with Francesco Totti and Gabriel Batistuta, and in his first season at the San Siro helped Milan to win a first league title in 5 years at the age of 34. A truly evergreen footballer. Defender, Franco Baresi. Now there's definitely no argument over this one. Franco Baresi served AC Milan for 20 years between 1977 and 1997, and was club captain for 15 of them. In that time, he led the club through the greatest era in its history. Born 100 kilometres down the road from Milan in Travagliato, Baresi joined the Rossoneri at the age of 12, and by the time he retired at 37 had consolidated his status as one of the world's greatest ever centre-backs. A defender who had it all, Baresi could function excellently as a sweeper and could even dictate play as a defensive midfielder. In 1989, the same year in which he lifted the first of 3 European Cups, the defensive general came runner-up in the Ballon d'Or to teammate Marco van Basten, and in 2000 he was given the prestigious title of Serie A's Player of the Century. Defender, Paolo Maldini. But the one man who arguably trumped Baresi was Paolo Maldini. Serie A's all-time top appearance maker played in the Milan first team for a full 24 years, picking up 7 Scudettos and 5 Champions Leagues along the way. Taking the armband after Baresi's retirement in 1997, Maldini followed in the footsteps of his father Cesar, who captained the Rossoneri in the 1960s. Moved from his left-back position after losing his pace, Maldini proved just as good at centre-half, reading the game better than anyone else on the pitch. As they did with Baresi before him, Milan retired Maldini's number 3 after he hung up his boots in 2009, preserving the legacy of the club's most successful player. Defender, Topher Shetty. Originally a striker, Topher Shetty was converted into a left-back by Helenio Herrera at Internazionale due to his unbelievable pace, and proved the perfect asset for the manager's counter-attacking Catenaccio system. With his scary ability to tear open the left flank on the break, Shetty was an assist king for Inter, and even bagged 10 league goals in the 1965-66 season, setting the record for a defender in Serie A, one which stood for 35 years. That season, he won his 3rd of 4 Scudetti, which sit in his trophy cabinet alongside back-to-back European Cups. Shetty finally got his hands on the Coppa Italia in his last season at Inter in 1978, and lifted it as club captain. He sadly died of cancer in 2006, just 2 years after assuming the role of Nerazzurri club president. Midfielder, Javier Zanetti. A man who certainly carried the spirit of Shetty at the San Siro is Javier Zanetti. The Argentinian wingback became honorary Milanese after signing for Inter in 1995 and is considered a god by followers of the Nerazzurri. Nicknamed El Tractor for his tireless work up and down the right flank, Zanetti led by example, never afraid to do the dirty work and willing to play anywhere in the midfield or defence. It was on the right where he thrived most though, and during the late 2000s formed a legendary partnership with fullback Maicon, as Inter dominated the Italian game. Finally clocking off in 2014 at the age of 41, Zanetti retired with 615 Serie A appearances under his belt and won everything there is to win with Inter. He held the captain's armband for a full 13 years, and in that time led the club to 5 consecutive Scudetti, 4 Coppas Italia and a Champions League. Midfielder, Andrea Pirlo. Our defensive midfield berth goes to none other than the architect himself. Andrea Pirlo started life as an attacking midfielder, but following his move to AC Milan was incorporated as a deep-lying playmaker to wonderful effect. A masterful reader of the game, composure personified on the ball, and with an eagle's eye for a pass, there is no club on earth that wouldn't be improved by having Pirlo on the pitch. In a star-studded Rossoneri side featuring the likes of Kaká and Andriy Shevchenko, Pirlo tirelessly kept things ticking in the centre of the park, forming the basis for the club's domestic and European successes in the 2000s. After helping Milan to the Serie A title in 2011, Pirlo moved to Juventus to work his magic. The old lady subsequently won her first Scudetto in 9 years unbeaten and would lift another 3 consecutively with Pirlo in the side. Milan, meanwhile, haven't come close since he left. If you're still not convinced Pirlo is an all-time great, Johan Cruyff called him a genius. Nuff said. Midfielder, Zinedine Zidane. Staying in Turin now, the perfect partner for Pirlo in our midfield is surely Zizou. The French-Algerian magician is one of the true icons of the game and trod the path to becoming the world's best player at Juventus. A man whose style of play was likened to dancing by Franz Beckenbauer, Zidane was a joy to watch whenever he played. A king provider and scorer of some spectacular goals, Zizou's performances for the old lady will live long in the memory. And the summer of '98 was the one that capped it all. Less than 2 months after winning a second successive Scudetto with Juve, Zidane lifted the World Cup with France after a man-of-the-match performance in the final, and later that year earned the Ballon d'Or and the FIFA World Player of the Year. At the time, Italy manager Paolo Maldini said he would trade in 5 players to have Zidane in his squad. He really was that good. Midfielder, Diego Maradona. Eyebrows were raised when Diego Maradona moved from Barcelona to Napoli in 1984, and fans of the Glazuri welcomed him as their saviour. In a league overwhelmingly dominated by teams from the industrial cities of the north, Maradona's new club had never tasted Serie A success in their history. But after the arrival of El Diego, that all changed. The talismanic Argentinian galvanised the team, won the title twice in the same era as Arrigo Sacchi's all-conquering AC Milan, and also helped the club to its first ever European glory, lifting the UEFA Cup in 1989. The man described by Jorge Valdano as the most perfect player in the history of football graced Serie A with his presence during his peak years, and left Italy with 81 goals in 188 league appearances. Pretty brilliant for an attacking midfielder. Napoli, meanwhile, have not enjoyed anywhere near that kind of success since he left in 1991. Forward, Francesco Totti. Our first striker is someone who is considered even more of a god by his home supporters. Francesco Totti first broke into the Roma team in 1993 and served the club for 24 years before his retirement in 2017. And in the years following, he led the team valiantly, lifting his solitary Scudetto in 2001 and back-to-back Coppas Italia later in the decade. But it wasn't trophies that made him stand out. One of modern football's best-loved characters, if you cut Totti, he would probably bleed imperial purple. The second highest scorer in Serie A history remained influential throughout his career too, winning games single-handedly for Roma right up until the age of 40, and playing in practically any position asked of him. In the words of his final manager Luciano Spalletti, it would be easier to move the Colosseum out of Rome. Forward, Gunnar Nordahl. First of all, apologies to fans of Roberto Baggio. The ultimate Serie A journeyman and an absolute magician, we sadly couldn't find a place for him in this side. But the taker of the final place in our team is fully deserving of it. One of the most prolific strikers ever to grace the field, Gunnar Nordahl moved to AC Milan from his native Sweden in 1949 and was devastating from the get-go. Between 1950 and 1955, the towering forward won the Serie A Golden Boot 5 times, helping the Rossoneri to 2 Scudetti along the way. And Milan's all-time top goal scorer still possesses the best goals-to-game ratio in Italian league history, with 225 goals in 291 appearances. That's 0.77 goals per game, which, considering he was banging them in consistently until the age of 38, is pretty impressive. Nicknamed the Gunner by the Rossoneri faithful, it's not hard to see why.
So what did you think to our list? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other content by clicking on screen, and as ever, please do like and subscribe.